The baby of a billionaire cries incessantly in the hotel lobby, until a black cleaning lady does the unthinkable. "Miss, get away from that child immediately." The sharp voice of Vivian Montgomery, executive manager of the Grand Plaza Hotel, echoed through the luxurious marble lobby, causing all the guests to turn toward the scene unfolding before them. Amanda Silva, 28, a night cleaner at the hotel for 3 years, stood motionless beside the crib where the 9-month-old baby had been crying desperately for over 2 hours. Her hands, calloused from cleaning, trembled slightly as she watched the child writhe in agony. Little Henry Blackstone, son of oil tycoon Jonathan Blackstone, was clearly in pain. Amanda recognized those specific signs: the arching of his back, his clenched fists, the piercing cry that pierced her ears. It wasn't hunger, it wasn't sleep. It was something that she knew all too well. "I told you to stay away." Vivian approached with furious steps, his Louboutin heels pounding on the marble floor like hammers. "You're paid to clean, not to touch the children of our millionaire guests." Amanda swallowed hard, her eyes darting around the crowded hall. Executives in Armani suits tapped impatiently on their cell phones, socialites covered in jewelry whispered to each other, and everyone seemed irritated by the incessant crying that echoed off the gilded walls of the 5-star hotel. "Ms. Montgomery," Amanda said softly, her voice almost inaudible over the baby's cries, "I think I know what's wrong with him. I worked in daycare for 5 years before coming here." "You think?" Vivian interrupted her with a cruel laugh. "A cleaning lady who didn't even finish high school thinks she knows better than the certified French nanny who used to take care of his? Better than the family's private pediatricians." Mr. Blackstone, an imposing 52-year-old man, paced back and forth in a complete panic. Her wife had flown to Paris on a family emergency, leaving him alone with Henry for the first time. The French nanny had been fired that morning after an argument, and now he was completely lost. "Please," Amanda tried again, watching as he violently rejected the bottle they offered him. "He's not hungry. Look how he arches his back when you try to lay him down. It's severe reflux combined with food intolerance." "Security!" Vivian shouted, signaling to 2 uniformed men who immediately approached. "Remove this employee from the main hall. She is disturbing our VIP guests." Amanda felt her heart race, but she didn't move. For 3 years, she had cleaned those hallways in silence, invisible to the elite who walked on the marble that she polished every night. She had raised her 2 younger brothers alone after her mother died, becoming an expert at soothing desperate babies during endless nights of crying. $50,000. Blackstone's voice cut through the tension like a knife. "For whoever can stop my son from crying in the next 10 minutes. The hall fell silent, except for Henry's screams. Vivian smiled maliciously, approaching Amanda with eyes shining with cruelty. "Did you hear that, dear? $50,000. More than you earn in 2 years scrubbing floors." Her pause was dramatic. "But of course, someone like you could never achieve such a thing. Better get back to your brooms before you lose even that job." Amanda's eyes met those of an elegant gray-haired lady sitting in the nearby leather armchair. A woman watched her with growing interest, seeming to recognize something the others couldn't see. Amanda took a deep breath, looking once more at the baby struggling in pain. For years, everyone had treated her as invisible, as if her hands were only good for cleaning up after important people. But now, in the face of all those looks of contempt, something inside her refused to back down. If you are enjoying this story of how prejudice can blind people to solutions that are right in front of their eyes, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to find out if a simple cleaning lady can really do what expensive doctors and certified nannies have failed to do. "You have 5 seconds to get out of my hallway before I call the police," Vivian hissed, positioning herself between Amanda and the crib like a snake protecting its territory. His expensive $300 an ounce perfume couldn't mask the venom in her voice. Amanda stood her ground, watching Henry writhe in agony. 3 years of silently cleaning those hallways had taught her to read people, and Vivian Montgomery was an open book of insecurity disguised as superiority. The 42-year-old woman had climbed her way up the hotel ladder through corporate politics and fake charm, but she had never faced a real crisis situation. "Ma'am, I really can help," Amanda insisted, her calm voice contrasting with the chaos around her. "This baby has infant colic combined with reflux. The position you're using to hold him is making everything worse." "Position?" Vivian laughed cruelly, making sure to speak loud enough for all the guests to hear. A cleaning lady who probably can't even read properly wants to give medical advice? What a joke. The malicious whispers spread through the hall like wildfire. Amanda felt her cheeks burn, but not with the shame they expected to see. It was pure anger, fuel she had learned to turn into determination over years of caring for his younger siblings alone. Blackstone remained desperate, trying everything he could think of. He offered bottles, rocked the baby in various ways, played classical music on his cell phone. Nothing worked. Henry just screamed louder, his little face red from the effort, his tiny fists clenched in agony. Mr. Blackstone, the elegant gray-haired lady, approached discreetly. "Allow me to introduce myself. I am Dr. Catherine Wells, a retired pediatrician with 40 years of experience." She gave Amanda a meaningful look. This young lady is correct in her assessment. The baby shows all the classic signs mentioned by her. Vivian paled, but doubled down on her cruelty. "Doctor, with all due respect, this employee is clearly trying to take advantage of Mr. Blackstone's desperate situation. People like her always do that." "People like her?" Dr. Wells repeated with a raised eyebrow, his icy tone cutting through the air. Amanda closed her eyes for a moment, remembering the endless nights when she was only 17. Her mother had died in a car accident, leaving her responsible for her 3- and 5-year-old brothers. Marcus had exactly the same symptoms as Henry. He cried for hours on end, refused food, arched his back in pain. There was no money for expensive pediatricians or certified French nannies. There was only a determined teenager, sleepless nights at the public library researching on ancient computers, and an inner strength that refused to let his brothers suffer. She had become an expert out of necessity, not privilege. "Mr. Blackstone," Amanda said, completely ignoring Vivian, "his son needs to be held upright, with his head slightly elevated. Reflux causes stomach acid to rise, causing intense pain. The bottle you are offering him probably contains cow's milk-based formula, which is further irritating his sensitive digestive system." Blackstone stopped moving, staring at Amanda with renewed attention. For the first time in hours, someone was speaking with real knowledge, not just offering empty platitudes. How ridiculous! Vivian exploded, completely losing her professional composure. "Security! Security! Remove this woman right now." "Wait," Blackstone raised his hand, her voice carrying the authority of someone accustomed to making million-dollar decisions. "Let her speak." The security guards hesitated, caught between conflicting orders. The entire hall was now watching, some guests discreetly recording with their cell phones. The tension was palpable. Amanda took a deep breath, knowing she had only one chance. "Sir, when his brother Marcus was this age, he spent 3 weeks crying just like this. The doctors at the health clinic said it was normal, that it would pass. We almost lost him to dehydration before she figured out what was really going on." Her voice grew stronger as she continued. "Henry needs special lactose-free formula, to be held upright for feeding, and specific abdominal massage to relieve trapped gas. I know exactly how to do this." Vivian was visibly furious now, realizing she was losing control of the situation. "Mr. Blackstone, I implore you not to listen to this person. She's clearly lying to get money. What kind of housekeeper would have medical knowledge?" "The kind who raised 2 younger brothers on her own," Amanda replied with unshakable dignity. "The kind who spent 5 years working in a specialized daycare center before needing to take this job to pay the bills. The kind who has been studying child development in her spare time for over 10 years. Dr. Wells nodded approvingly. "Practical experience is worth more than any degree sometimes. This young woman knows what she's talking about." Blackstone looked at his son, then at Amanda, then at the crowd of expectant faces around them. $50,000 was nothing to he, but peace of mind was priceless. And for the first time in hours, someone was offering real hope. "You have 2 minutes, he finally said. "If you can get him to stop crying, any amount you want is hers." Vivian turned pale. "Mr. Blackstone, I must protest vehemently against." "You must be quiet," he cut her off coldly, "and let her try what expensive doctors and certified professionals have failed to do." As Amanda cautiously approached the crib, his eyes briefly met those of a young guest in the nearby armchair, who was holding a cell phone with a camera clearly pointed in her direction. The woman gave a discreet thumbs up, as if to say, "I'm recording all of this." For a moment, when Amanda reached out her hands toward Henry, Everyone thought they were about to witness yet another predictable failure. But anyone watching closely would have noticed that it wasn't hesitation that made those hands move with such precision. It was the quiet confidence of someone who had already won battles much greater than this one and knew exactly how to turn despair into hope. Amanda reached her calloused hands toward Henry with the precision of a surgeon. There was no hesitation or uncertainty in his movements. Each gesture revealed years of practical experience that no diploma could teach. No. Vivian exploded, physically blocking Amanda's path. Mr. Blackstone, I beg you to reconsider. This woman is a complete stranger. And if she hurts the baby? And if she's a con artist? People like her always try to take advantage of desperate situations. People like her? Dr. Wells repeated in an icy voice, rising from her chair with all the authority of his 40 years in medicine. What kind of people exactly, Miss Montgomery? Vivian realized too late that she had revealed her prejudices in front of dozens of witnesses, but she doubled down with growing desperation. A cleaning lady with no formal education. No certifications. No references. Mr. Blackstone, her reputation is at stake here. Amanda remained calm, watching Vivian's escalating desperation with eyes that had seen this kind of behavior before. During 3 years of cleaning those hallways, she had witnessed countless displays of arrogance disguised as professional concern. Ms. Montgomery, Amanda said softly but with a firmness that silenced everyone, I can show you my certificate in child development, my specialization in special needs, and letters of recommendation from the families I worked with for 5 years at the Little Steps Daycare Center. The silence in the hall was deafening. Vivian visibly paled. Amanda continued, pulling a worn wallet from the pocket of his uniform. I can also show you my professional ID from the Regional Council of Early Childhood Education, valid for another 2 years. I accept this job as a cleaner because it pays the bills while I study education at night, not because it's all I know how to do. Blackstone took the documents with trembling hands, his eyes quickly scanning the impeccable credentials, the enthusiastic letters of recommendation, the specialization courses. Why do you work as a cleaner with these qualifications? Because daycare centers don't pay enough to support 2 younger siblings and pay for college, Amanda replied with unshakable dignity. And because people like Mrs. Montgomery never gave me the chance to show what I can really do. The young guest with a cell phone had positioned herself strategically to capture everything, her camera focusing especially on the expressions of shock and embarrassment spreading across the hall. His name was Jessica Chun, an investigative journalist specializing in social injustice, and she instantly recognized that she was documenting something extraordinary. Dr. Wells examined the certificates over Blackstone's shoulder, nodding with growing approval. Impeccable credentials. This young woman has more specific qualifications than most pediatricians to deal with child development. Vivian was visibly panicking now. Documents can be forged. Mr. Blackstone, I've worked at this hotel for 15 years. Her professional reputation is at stake here. Her reputation is already destroyed, muttered a nearby guest, and others began whispering among themselves about the manager's unacceptable behavior. Amanda finally approached Henry, who was still crying desperately. Her hands found the baby with the gentleness of someone who had calmed hundreds of suffering children. Immediately, she positioned him upright against his shoulder, creating the perfect angle to relieve his reflux. "Shhhh," she whispered, applying gentle but firm pressure to specific points on the baby's back. "I know, little one. I know it hurts. But we'll get through this together." Henry calmed down slightly, his cries subsiding to broken sobs. The entire hall held its breath. "He needs formula that's lactose-free and cow's milk protein-free," Amanda explained calmly as she continued the specialized massage. "What you're offering him is irritating his sensitive digestive system. He also needs to be fed in small amounts, more frequently, always in this upright position." Blackstone watched in fascination as his son, for the first time in hours, showed real signs of relief. "How do you know all this?" "My brother Marcus was born with the same problem," Amanda replied, her eyes never leaving Henry. "He spent 3 weeks in the hospital because no one diagnosed him correctly. We almost lost him. That's when I decided I would never let a child suffer like that again if I could help it." Jessica Chun continued to record everything, capturing not only the baby's miraculous transformation, but more importantly, the progressive humiliation of Vivian Montgomery, who watched her authority crumble before dozens of witnesses and cameras. "That's impossible," Vivian whispered, watching Henry finally relax in Amanda's arms. "She's just a cleaning lady." "Was," corrected Blackstone, her voice laden with newfound respect. "Ms. Amanda, I would like to make you an offer." But before he could continue, Henry vomited violently, covering Amanda's uniform with a nauseating mixture of poorly digested formula. Vivian smiled maliciously, as if this validated all her previous objections. "Perfect," Amanda murmured calmly, cleaning the baby with practiced movements. That was to be expected. Her digestive system was rejecting the inappropriate formula. Now that he's expelled everything, we can begin the correct treatment. She took a small clean towel from his cleaning cart and wrapped Henry with professional precision. "Mr. Blackstone, I need someone to go to the nearest pharmacy and buy formula specifically for babies with food intolerance. Similac Alimentum or Nutramigen brand. We also need bottles with anti-colic nipples." "I'll go," Dr. Wells offered immediately. "I know exactly what to look for." As the doctor hurried away, Amanda continued to apply specialized soothing techniques. Henry was noticeably calmer, his eyes finally focusing instead of writhing in agony. "Vivian," Blackstone said without taking his eyes off his son, "I'd like to speak with you privately. Now." The tone was icy, definitive. Vivian knew her 15-year career was about to end, but she still tried one last desperate gambit. "Mr. Blackstone, I was only protecting the hotel's interests. If anything had gone wrong with his son at the hands of this person, it would have been a public relations disaster." "The only person who created a public relations disaster here was you," he replied coldly. "And I'm beginning to wonder how many other talented people have been prevented from helping because of your personal prejudices." Jessica Chun approached discreetly, her camera still rolling. "Excuse me, I'm a reporter for the Washington Post. I'd like to ask if you would like to comment on this situation for a story on discrimination in elite establishments." Vivian turned pale. The last thing he needed was national exposure of his behavior. Amanda, still calming Henry, looked directly at the camera for the first time. "I just wanted to help a child who was suffering. The rest doesn't matter." But in his eyes there was something else, a quiet determination that suggested she had been preparing for a moment like this for much longer than anyone could imagine. During 3 years of observing the elite in the Marble Hall, she had learned much more than cleaning techniques. As Jessica continued filming and Dr. Wells returned with the correct supplies, Amanda whispered something to Henry that made the baby smile for the first time in hours. But anyone paying attention would notice that it wasn't just relief shining in her eyes. It was the quiet satisfaction of someone whose most ambitious plan was finally beginning to unfold exactly as he had predicted. "Excuse me," Jessica Chen approached with her press pass clearly visible, her professional camera still recording every second of the ongoing transformation. Jessica Chen, Washington Post. "Would you like to comment on this situation for our investigative series on racial discrimination in elite establishments?" The blood drained completely from Vivian Montgomery's face. During 15 years of building her professional reputation, she never imagined it would be destroyed in a single night by her own prejudiced words, captured in high definition and broadcast live to thousands of viewers. "Are you broadcasting this live?" Vivian stammered, her voice losing all the arrogant authority she had displayed minutes before. "Of course," Jessica smiled, showing her phone screen where the view count was skyrocketing. 43,000 people are watching right now. The comments are interesting. Amanda continued to apply the specialized techniques to Henry, who was now sleeping peacefully in his arms for the first time in hours. Her posture remained dignified and professional, contrasting sharply with Vivian's growing panic. Blackstone read a few comments aloud, his voice laden with growing indignation. "What a horrible woman. Fire her immediately. Amanda is an angel. Sue the hotel for discrimination. This manager is a disgrace." "Mr. Blackstone, I beg you," Vivian began desperately. "You beg," he interrupted her coldly. "The same way this extraordinary woman begged to help my son while you treated her like trash?" Dr. Wells returned with the correct supplies, watching the scene with obvious satisfaction. The video of the discrimination already has over 100,000 views in just 20 minutes. It's being shared by civil rights profiles, medical groups, and social justice organizations. Amanda carefully prepared the specialized formula, demonstrating techniques he had clearly mastered years ago. Henry accepted the feeding immediately, his eyes shining with contentment for the first time since they arrived at the hotel. "This is impossible," Vivian whispered, watching her authority crumble before dozens of witnesses and cameras. "She can't know more than medical experts." "She knows because she's lived it," Blackstone replied, watching his son finally at peace. "While you were wasting energy judging people by their appearance, she was saving lives." Vivian's cell phone began to ring incessantly. Calls from hotel headquarters, the press, lawyers. Each ring was like a nail being hammered into the coffin of her career. Jessica continued her live narration. "For those just joining us, we have witnessed Amanda Silva, a cleaning lady with impressive qualifications in child development, being publicly humiliated by manager Vivian Montgomery. Amanda just did what expensive doctors couldn't, completely calm a baby who had been crying for hours." Amanda finally spoke, his calm voice cutting through the tension. "Miss Montgomery, for 3 years I have cleaned these hallways while watching you treat employees and guests based on personal prejudices. Today was no different, except this time a child was suffering." I'm not prejudiced," Vivian stammered pathetically. "It was a misunderstanding." "A misunderstanding?" Dr. Wells repeated with surgical irony. 40 years of medicine have taught me to recognize real competence versus empty arrogance. This young woman has demonstrated more practical knowledge in 10 minutes than many specialists in entire careers." The hotel's executive director appeared running down the hall, clearly panicked after receiving urgent calls about the viral broadcast. Charles Davidson, a man in his 50s who had built her career by avoiding public scandals, watched in horror as the view count continued to climb. "Mr. Blackstone, I can explain," he began. "Can you explain how you allowed a highly qualified employee to be treated as inferior for 3 years? Blackstone interrupted him coldly. "Can you explain how we almost lost an opportunity to save my son because of her manager's prejudices?" Amanda handed Henry back to his father, her hands guiding him into the correct position to keep the baby comfortable. "Keep him like this for at least 30 minutes after each feeding. Use only the specialized formula. Small amounts every 2 hours. "Amanda," Blackstone said, his voice thick with emotion, "I can't begin to thank you for what you did tonight. But I can offer you something better than gratitude." He took out his business card and wrote something on the back. "Director of Child Development at the Blackstone Foundation. Starting salary, $200,000 a year, plus full benefits and an unlimited research budget." The hall fell silent. Amanda looked at the card, then at Henry sleeping peacefully in his father's arms. "Mr. Blackstone, I accept," she said with unwavering dignity. "But I have one condition." "Anything." "I want to implement an unconscious bias training program for all hospitality employees in this city. No one should be judged by his appearance when he has real knowledge to offer." Jessica Chen captured it all, narrating live. Amanda Silva just turned 3 years of humiliation into an executive position and a mission of social justice. That, folks, is how you turn discrimination into revolution. Vivian tried to hide behind a marble column, but other guests' cell phone cameras followed her. Her LinkedIn profile already showed hundreds of negative comments. Her 15-year professional reputation had been destroyed in less than an hour. "Ms. Montgomery," Director Davidson said in an official voice, "you're fired. Effective immediately. Security will escort him to collect his belongings." "Amanda," Dr. Wells approached her with tears in her eyes, "you reminded me why I fell in love with medicine 40 years ago. May I be her first volunteer in the training program?" The number of views of the live broadcast exceeded 500,000. Hashtags such as #JusticeForAmanda and #PrejudiceAtGrand Plaza began trending nationally. Job offers, interview invitations, and messages of support flooded social media. Blackstone looked at his son, then at Amanda, then at the cameras that were still recording. "This woman didn't just save my son tonight. She taught us that a person's true value isn't in her social status, but in her compassion and competence." Henry opened his eyes and smiled directly at Amanda, as if he knew that she had changed not only his night, but potentially her entire life. The scene was captured in high definition and would be shared millions of times in the coming hours. As Amanda walked down the marble hall for the last time as a cleaning lady, each step echoed with the dignity of someone who had turned injustice into opportunity, prejudice into progress, and humiliation into history. But the true measure of his victory would only be revealed when the world discovered the lasting impact that a single night of courage could have on millions of lives yet to be touched by his new mission. 6 months later, Amanda Silva cut the inaugural ribbon at the Amanda Silva Child Development Center, a $5 million facility funded entirely by the Blackstone Foundation. His anti-bias training program had been implemented in more than 200 hotels and companies across the country. Director Silva, Henry said, now walking and speaking his first words, reaching his little arms out to her during the ceremony. The child she had saved had become his biggest advocate, always smiling when he saw her. Blackstone watched with growing pride. Amanda turned one night of crisis into a national revolution. Our program has now trained over 10,000 hospitality employees, completely changing how people are treated regardless of his social status. Meanwhile, Vivian Montgomery was wiping tables at a roadside cafe, the only position she could get after the viral video completely destroyed her professional reputation. His 15 years of hotel experience were worthless after employers discovered his history of discrimination documented in high definition. Dr. Wells, now the center's medical coordinator, shared the impressive statistics. Since Amanda took over, we have identified and treated over 300 children with special needs who had been misdiagnosed. Her practical approach has revolutionized our field. Jessica Chun, promoted after her reporting won National Journalism Awards, documented everything. Amanda's story proves that real competence always triumphs over superficial prejudice, but only when someone has enough courage to stand up to injustice. Amanda, now wearing his lab coat embroidered with Dr. Amanda Silva, Child Development Specialist, smiled for the cameras. 3 years ago, I was invisible in these hallways. Today, I lead a team of 50 professionals dedicated to ensuring that no child suffers from a lack of understanding or prejudice. The true measure of success was not just in the impressive numbers or national recognition. It was in the fact that Henry slept peacefully every night, hundreds of families had found specialized help, and thousands of employees had learned to see beyond appearances. The best revenge, Amanda concluded during his inauguration speech, is not to destroy those who have hurt you. It is to build something so meaningful that it transforms the whole world, a better place for everyone. Justice had been served not with bitterness, but with purpose. Amanda proved that when you combine real knowledge with unwavering courage, you can turn a single night of humiliation into a lifetime of positive impact. If this story of transformation through dignity and competence has touched his heart, subscribe to the channel for more stories that prove that true strength comes from those who dare to be authentic in a world that insists on superficial judgments.